So today we're going to do chapter 5. We're going to do chapter 5 today. So we analyze the audience and we know who's going to be there. And now it's time to pick a topic. Now, in a lot of cases, you'll be invited to give a speech, and the group inviting you will say, we want you to speak on this topic. Or you'll be invited based on your credentials, based on your expertise. And you'll know the topic beforehand. So you may have to narrow it or further define it to fit that audience. And so we can do both by some of the techniques that are shown to us in chapter 5. Let me get my little pointer to work here. Get my mouse over here. There we go. Okay, so the first thing we have to think about is why are we there? What is the occasion? And we will come back to this information called the general purpose. Okay, so I want you kind of thinking about general purpose because we're going to marry that with the occasion, why we're there. So our general purposes for speeches are to inform, to tell the audience something, to teach them something, to demonstrate, to show them how something works or how something is done or how to put something together, to persuade, to advocate for our position, or to commemorate. Commemorate means to pay tribute to or to honor. Okay, so those are some basic general purposes of speeches. And we'll come back to this in just a few minutes. I just kind of want that sort of on the periphery of your thinking right now. So selecting a topic kind of depends on three things. It depends on the occasion, why we're there to do the speech. It depends on the audience, of course, and what's appropriate for that audience. And it depends on your qualifications. So it depends on what you know or what you are willing to do research on if you want to learn something new. And selecting a topic, we start with subjects that we already know about, okay? So we start thinking or brainstorming about subjects we already have some experience in or some knowledge with. Then if we don't want to do a topic that we know something about already, we might choose to do a topic in which we want to learn about it because we're going to have to do some research anyway, so we might as well learn something new ourselves. And then we pick topics based on our beliefs, based on our opinions. And we should have pretty strong opinions and beliefs about our topics. We want to be passionate about our topics, particularly when it comes to a persuasive speech. We want to be very passionate, very convincing, because it's going to take, to be very convincing to lead people over to our side of the issue in a persuasive speech. So we want to think about these things as we are beginning to select a topic, okay? So when we're brainstorming, what are we doing? We're generating ideas, right? Okay. We are maybe even writing them down. We are thinking about things that we know about or things we want to learn about or things that we hold near and dear. So we're thinking, we're brainstorming. And we can use brainstorming in several different ways to help us come up with a topic. But one of the first ways is called a personal inventory. What do you think a personal inventory might be?
Going through what you know.
Yes, going through what you know, writing down the subjects that you know something about already, and then we can brainstorm further from there and maybe select a topic from that list. So why don't we do one? Why don't we do a personal inventory? I want everybody to get out a piece of paper that you will keep, okay? Make it something that you will keep that you can refer back to. And I'm going to give you 30 seconds on the timer, and you're going to write down all the subjects that you know something about, okay? All the things that you know something about. You might get a speech topic from this list, okay? Everybody ready? No? Just about. Okay. That's okay. All right, ready, set, go. and stop. Okay, so how many did you get? 3, good. 6, 5, 4, 8, good. 9, 10, anybody get 10? Yeah, well that's okay. So now you have a list of potential topics, things that you know about that might be of interest to your audience, to this audience, that you would like to do your speech on. So now you have your list. So keep it handy as you are beginning to decide on topics. You might refer back to it. You may look at this list and say, well, I really don't want to do anything on this list. And so we can further brainstorm for other topics by doing what's called a cluster or a concept map. And this is really a good thing to do when you have a very broad topic. Maybe you have a really broad topic on your I know something about list, but you need to narrow it down or further define it. This is a really good way to do that. It's called clustering or concept mapping. So I'm going to do some on the board for us. And let's take a broad topic such as, let's see, how about health? That's a really broad topic, isn't it? Okay. So we need to narrow that down. So we're going to do what's called concept or cluster. We're going to cluster some things around it. So what are some other topics or things under health? Diabetes. What else? Medicine. Did I hear Medicare? Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
Okay. What else? Cancer. Hygiene. Is that what I heard?
Exercise.
Exercise. What else?
Eating habits.
I'm sorry?
Eating habits.
Eating habits. Okay. Or nutrition. All right. What else? Anything else?
Mental and physical.
Mental health. Physical. H-Y-S-C-L, physical. Oops, nope, that's not how you spell it. There you go, physical. Okay, and we could just kind of keep going on, right? This is called clustering or concept mapping. So now we have taken the big, broad category of health, and we've really narrowed it down to a lot of really narrow kinds of topics. These topics are manageable, especially in the time limits that you have in this class, so that we can pick one of these now. Now, cancer, we would probably have to further narrow it down, right, because it's really broad too. And we might have to, take these down a little bit, get them a little more narrow. But we have one that's really narrow right here, diabetes. And we could probably do a speech on diabetes in the 6 to 7 minute time limit that we have, because we want our topic to fit our time. Okay, so that's probably doable. So we have, in just a really short time, by doing a concept or a cluster map, we've come up with a topic. What are some things that we could talk about in terms of diabetes? Diet.
Different types.
Types. What did I hear in the back? Same thing. Okay. How about treatment? Well, that's kind of diet, huh? Let's trade treatment for diet. And how about symptoms? I think those are some 3 pretty good points there about diabetes. Does that kind of sum up diabetes in 3 points? Yeah. Okay. So now we have, not only do we have a topic, but we've got some potential main points that we can cover in our speech. So now it's time to start working on the outline. And I sort of deviate from the book a little bit now in terms of the outline and writing different parts of the outline. The next thing that we need to do is we need to go back to that general purpose. And we need to decide which one we are going to do. So if we're going to give a speech on diabetes and we're going to have these main points, what general purpose do we have?
To inform.
To inform, okay. So we're going to do this one. We're going to do to inform. So now we have the general purpose of our speech. And we are thinking about the occasion, we're thinking about the audience, and is this appropriate for them? And we decide that it is. And we decide that our audience is in need of a informative speech on diabetes. So now we can write our goal statement for our speech. And this sort of begins the work of the outline, the development of the speech. It's called the specific purpose statement. And it basically takes the general purpose and combines it with the topic. Okay, so our general purpose is to inform. So our specific purpose statement that we can now write is to inform my audience about diabetes. It's a simple sentence. Now, the textbook goes into a little bit more detail into writing specific purpose statements, and they can be a little more detailed, but this is sufficient for what I want you to do, okay? I want you to be able to take the general purpose and the topic and write a specific purpose statement. And you always include the words, my audience. Yes, Alex?
So the one we're about to write is to inform.
Yeah. To inform. We're going to do an informative speech. To inform my audience about diabetes. That's the goal of our speech. That's what we want to do. Make sense? Okay. This sort of starts the outline. You're going to have your name. You're going to have the title or the topic. Then you're going to have your specific purpose statement. And then you're going to have one more piece in here, and I'll get to that in just a couple minutes. But this is known as the header on the outline. Okay, that's the header that you put on your outline. It goes on the first page. I'm sorry?
What's your name and your topic and
The specific purpose. And then we're going to have one more piece, and I'll tell you about that in just a minute, just a couple minutes. Okay, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves yet. Okay, so now we have the beginning of the workings of a rough draft outline. And it is at this point that we would go and do our research. Okay, we're going to get into research in chapter 7 coming up next week. And we'll have a special guest from the library come and talk to us about using the databases for our research. So that's yet to come next week. But we have some potential main points here in our speech on diabetes. And now we want to work on getting research to fill in the body of our speech. Okay, this is going to go in the body of the speech. These are our main points. All right. So we have an introduction, we have a body, and we have a conclusion. We're going to work on the body in terms of our research and filling out the body of our speech. But we can write one more piece of the puzzle. You can think of the outline like a puzzle. We're going to write one more piece of that goes into the intro. Your textbook calls it a central idea. I call it a preview statement. It's the same basic idea. Okay, but we're going to write a preview statement. Preview, central idea mean the same thing. Okay. And what you do to write the preview or the central idea statement is you take your main points in the order in which you plan to cover them in the speech, and you put them in a sentence that says something to the effect of, today we will talk about, or we will discuss, and then you list the main points. So today we will talk about the symptoms, the types, and the treatment for diabetes. That's your preview statement. Okay, do you know what the speech is about? You know the 3 main points, right? Okay, that's called a preview statement, and it goes into the introduction. And the introduction has 5 parts, and the preview statement is number 5. Okay, it's the last statement in the introduction. Okay, so you have an introduction, you have You have 5 pieces to the introduction, and the last one, number 5, is the preview of the main points. We're sort of working backwards, okay? But remember, you do the body of the speech first, Quinn.
And with this introduction, is this what, like, we have to have a written copy of our speech we turn in to you?
You're going to have an outline that's written. Yeah, and I'm going to have the format for you. Okay? This is what we're starting. We're starting that outline format. Okay? And then you're going to have, under that introduction, you're going to have the body of the speech, and you're going to have your main points. And you'll probably have some subpoints. Okay? And then, of course, at the very bottom, you'll have your conclusion. And it has 3 parts, but we're not going to get into that today. So, going from selecting a topic, which is part of the first part of chapter 5, we brainstormed, we did a cluster map, we came up with a topic, we even came up with potential main points, all right? And so from that, we wrote our specific purpose statement, and we wrote our preview statement, okay? And so that guides our research. Now we know what we need to go research. We need to go make sure we have information to fill in the blanks in the body of the speech. Okay, this would be symptoms. This would be types. This would be treatment. So now we know we need to do the research to fill in the blanks of the body of the speech. Okay. Yes?
What do you do types before symptoms?
You could. You could. Yeah, you could change them around. This is just potentially the way we're going to do it. Okay? But yes, as you're doing your research and as you're beginning to select organizational patterns, if you want to rearrange those, that's fine. Just remember that if you rearrange your main points, you have to rearrange your preview statement, okay? Because the preview statement lists the main points in the order in which you're going to cover the main points in the speech. Okay. Everybody with me so far? Okay. All right, the last thing I want to talk about before we do a little activity to make sure you kind of got this gelled in your head is you're going to write a thesis statement, and it's going to go in 3 places in the outline, but it is not like an English thesis, okay? The thesis for speech is a summary of the speech without identifying the main points. Okay, it's a summary of the speech without identifying the main points. That's what a thesis is.
Is this something that's included in the speech while we're talking, or is
Yes.
this?
Yes.
Is it gonna be part of the header?
It's gonna be part of the header, it's also gonna be in the speech, okay? So in the header, it goes right here under the specific purpose statement. Okay, right there. You write this thesis statement as you were working on the conclusion. Don't try to write this until you have finished the body, okay? Now, it's going to go in the introduction in the number 4 spot. And it's going to go in the conclusion in the number 1 spot. So do the body of your speech first, then start working on the conclusion, and the summary statement will come. Yes.
So every speech basically starts out the same because like when you say this, every speech has to be like.
Yes. Well, each speech is going to have a slightly different outline, but I'm giving you all of the outlines that you need. Okay. So this is for your informative speech, informative or demonstration speech.
And the first 3 on the intro?
We're not going to worry about those today. Okay. Just know that there are 5 pieces, and that we're going to come back to 1, 2, and 3. Number 1 is gain attention. Okay. Remember that from chapter 4? Yeah. Okay. All right. So this is the outline structure for your informative speech. Okay, this is kind of messy. Let me get rid of some of this up here. I want to keep that. Okay. So what you're going to do when you start brainstorming, first you're going to brainstorm for a topic. You're going to decide on a topic. Then you're going to narrow that topic down to something that's manageable, okay, and time-wise, those kinds of things. And then you're going to come up with some main points for that topic. Then you're going to research that so that you can fill in the body of the speech. Then you'll write the conclusion, and then you'll write the introduction. But you have one piece of the introduction already. Okay. Write this last. Okay. And then go plug it in the 3 places that it's supposed to be plugged into in the speech.
I think I got 2 of them, like 5 plug statement,
Mm-hmm.
intro.
You're gonna have one in the header.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's number 3. 1, 2, 3. And it is the exact same thesis. Do not reword it. Okay, exact same thesis. You don't want to reword it. Any questions about preview statement, about how to brainstorm for a topic? How many of you have topics in mind for that informative speech already? How many of you have something that you want to do? Anybody? That's okay. Kind of thinking about something? Yeah, okay. Yeah, start thinking about it. Start doing some brainstorming. Start thinking about what you might want to do. So that it sort of starts to come together for you.
When do we need to have the topic on?
You don't need the topic for a couple of weeks yet. Okay.
Two topics to be approved.
They don't have to be approved, but I have to know what they are. Yeah, the only 2 topics we're not going to do are abortion and the death penalty. And that's not because they're controversial. It's because they're old, tired topics. There's nothing new under the sun about those 2 topics, at least not right now. So if you want to do something controversial, that's fine. Just pick something else. Okay. All right. Okay, I want us to do this because I want you to really get into mind what you're doing in terms of writing specific purpose. So what you're going to do is you're going to take one of these, and it's front and back, and you're going to read the scenario. Okay, read the little central idea. And from that, you're going to get the general purpose, and I'll write those on the board. And then you'll write a specific purpose statement, and then you'll list the main points, okay? I want to make sure you kind of got this in your head, okay? So go ahead and get into groups. I'm passing them out, like, just get into groups. You don't need more than one or two groups. Let me just hand them out here. Y'all get into groups, we'll do it individually. You don't need but one.
We write on these,
Yeah, you can write on these. Yeah.
let's just be great.
Y'all can get in a group if you want to.
We put our name down.
Yeah, but everybody's name's on it. Y'all need one back there. Anybody else need one? Oh, you have a question?
Yeah, I read
No, you
it's
can
like
both sides.
yellow.
Do both sides, okay? And don't, I'll come around and help you if you're not sure what to do.